Hello and welcome to the Asian game coming to you tonight from the Lusail Boulevard, where it's a little bit noisy, unfortunately for the Saudi Arabian fans and the Mexican fans. Both sets of their supporters are disappointed after their campaign here at the World Cup has ended. But for Australia, it was a successful time earlier in the day. We're joined by Mr. Bandar here, who's just come and...
Hard luck for all of Saudi and congratulations for all of Australia.
That's right, thank you very much. We were going to start with Australia, but seeing as you've joined us, let's start with Saudi Arabia. So, what's your feeling after this result today?
I am proud of my nationality team. Really do the best of better than what you want.
Sure. But you must be disappointed though, because I mean the first match against Argentina and Messi,
we win.
Sure, I remember that very well.
That's enough.
You're happy, yeah?
Enough,
Yeah. Okay.
Argentina. Who is one can win of Argentina?
Yeah, not many people. Well, actually, the next match for Australia is against Argentina.
Oh.
Yeah.
But we'll do it. Same Saudi.
You will come to support Australia?
Yes.
This match?
Yes.
Good.
But
Okay.
give me the flag.
The flag, okay. If we find a flag,
find one.
We'll definitely give you one.
Okay, I will do it. I'll support it.
Okay, that's wonderful. So, Paul Williams and Michael Church, you guys were at the Australian game today, and an amazing result for Australia, just through to the second round of a World Cup for the second time in their history with the with a 1-0 win over Denmark, and an amazing solo goal from Matthew Leckie. The difference there. Paul, for you, what was it like inside the stadium? What was the atmosphere like, and what's your reaction to Australia flying the flag for Asia, the only AFC nation to have survived so far?
We probably wouldn't have thought that 6 months ago, would we? When Australia looked like they might not even make it to the World Cup. That the playoff route that had to navigate against the UAE and Peru, and not many people thought that Graham Alden might even make that point. There was one point that he might have got sacked, and yet here we are, as you said, flying the flag for Asian football. It was actually a little bit muted inside the stadium. There was a lot of nervous energy. You could tell right from kickoff. I mean, Australian fans don't make a lot of noise at the best of times, but there was a lot of nervous energy amongst the Australian fans, realising what was at stake. They came alive a little bit after that Matthew Leckie goal, and then the nervous energy came back in. Once the final whistle went, though, they were full of joy and happiness. The 80s rock tunes were smashing out around the stadium. Land Down Under, Waltzing Matilda, Horses, you name it. All the Aussie rock classics were being bandied about, and fair to say all the Aussie fans, the Aussie media were fairly chuffed with that one.
Mr. Bandar, did you watch the Australia game today? Yes. What were your thoughts on the Australian game?
Australia play the strong play.
Yeah.
Play and they do it what he wants.
Okay, excellent.
The best
That's excellent. And Michael, for you, what does this result mean for Australian football? Because I mean, they came into the tournament as pretty much outsiders. I mean, it's worth remembering that they only qualified through the playoffs as well. So they were the last Asian nation to qualify. As it stands tonight, thank you, Mr. Bandar.
Thank you.
We'll see you in Saudi Arabia one day. That's excellent. Thank you very much. And here they are, last to qualify, and the last remaining Asian nation.
Well, let's not write off Japan and South Korea entirely ahead of their games over the next couple of days. But look, it's become a cliche to talk about Australian spirit, about the Australian DNA, about the Australian desire to win and to fight and to never give up until the cause is completely lost. But you know, Australia, this World Cup has been they've epitomised that. They did it against Tunisia, they did it again today. Look, they were second best certainly throughout the entirety of the first half, maybe a little bit of a flicker sort of towards the end of the half. Second half was much more even. Denmark didn't really create a huge amount in the second half. And look, Riley McGree's great little ball through and a fantastic run and finish from Matthew Leckie. It's great for Australian football. It's great for Asian football. Let's hope we can have maybe another one through over the next couple of days.
Yeah, absolutely. We've lost Mr. Bandar. He's gone. I don't know where. There's loads of seen here Saudi fans, Mexican fans, but one person we did manage to catch up with a little bit earlier is the great James Montague, author extraordinaire of many amazing books on Asian football, Middle Eastern football, and indeed world football. His most recent book is 1312 Amongst the Ultras, and here's my chat a little bit earlier with James, including an exclusive reveal of his tattoo. Scott McIntyre, joined by a man I haven't seen in a couple of years. It's budding cricket superstar, James Montague. James, before we get onto the football, you had a game of cricket. You did well.
I did well. I mean, I've only played really once before, and that was in Serbia. I played with some Serbian players who played for the Serbian national team.
Right.
Obviously, cricket isn't a big thing in Serbia, so the quality wasn't, great. But one of the great things about Qatar, one of the most interesting things, we're all here for the football, but really the street sport, the national sport is cricket.
Yeah.
Every Friday, if you go out, any patch of land, you'll see workers, because they're mainly from Bangladesh, India, Sri Lanka. You see, cricket being played, and we went to a camp and we found some guys playing eight overs each, and it was quite, they had a concrete wicket, and it was, quite a big space. They had the boundary all marked out. They had an umpire. The most trusted guy was there as the umpire, and they wanted me to play and hit a couple of boundaries.
You're living in Turkey. Surely there's a Turkish national team that you can claim dual citizenship for and open the batting or the bowling.
I haven't found them yet. There is one, but I haven't offered them my services yet. But I think I might want to get back.
Alrighty. For those few people that don't know James, he is one of the planet's foremost football authors.
I don't know about that.
No, I was going to go cricket foremost. Cricket interloper.
Yeah.
But authors, can you just tell us what your last book was and what's going on?
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess probably easy to say my first book was When Friday Comes, which is about football in the Middle East.
Which inspired me to go to Iran.
Which inspired you to go to Iran.
And I lost that. I actually lost that edition in a nightclub in Nepal.
Did you?
Yeah.
There's some of the there's a Nepali bouncer somewhere who's gonna
he's reread it 1,000 times.
Fallen to pieces,
yeah.
But. Yeah, I mean, it's a story of I was a lot younger. I was going around the Middle East, kind of finding out all these crazy football stories, and over the years, a lot of those stories have ended up being, I don't know, they just kind of keep on living, I suppose. I mean, people keep on living, so people and stories just keep on going. And I've got a new version of it that came out with Penguin in the summer, and kind of fully updated, because the beginning of the original book was in Qatar in like 2005. When this was all fields, sand, and to interview Marcel Desailly, because they just started this football league that they were going to have these big stars in, and to go from there, and I've been coming back to Qatar kind of every couple of years, reporting from here on the migrant worker situation, but also on how they built Aspire, how they built the national football team, and to come here, I felt I had to come here to see, this is almost like the end of my life's work, kind of like I can put a full stop to it in a way, seeing how it is now.
You don't need to leave us just...
No, I'm not going to go carry at the end of it. Like, that's how I'm going to go out. But but this is like, I can put that book to bed now, I think.
And since then?
And since then, I mean, there was also 31-0, which was the story of qualification for the 2014 World Cup. Of course, 31-0 is Australia's world record, and I ended up going to Samoa to watch American Samoa, and when I was there, they got their first ever victory. And I don't know if you've seen the movie Next Goal Wins, which is the documentary based on that. And so if you can see me, I'm in the background ruining some of their shots. And it's Taika Waititi's directed the remake, and it's out in April.
Nice.
So unfortunately, there isn't going to be a fictionalised version of me that I'm aware of. They haven't asked for my image right, so unless they've made a bastardised, awful character based on me that I don't know, but I'll probably sit down and watch it and think, I was there, amazing, and then make some kind of horrible English bastard, this character that's clearly based on me.
And the most recent one, which I believe you told me has been reprinted somehow in some underground press in Iran.
And then Billionaires Club, which is... in fact, I think I came on to talk about Billionaires Club before, which is about the world's super rich, buying football clubs. There's a lot about Qatar in there, and about the pipeline of migrant workers coming from Bangladesh to here, and the kafala system. And then the most recent one is 1312 Among the Ultras, which is about the ultra movement around the world. It's a Japanese version of it.
Really?
Yeah, it's a Japanese version of it, because the Japanese love their ultras.
Yeah, right.
There's Aussies love their ultras as well. There's no chapter on the Aussie ultras yet, though.
And this is the one that's been printed in some underground press, or which was the one that?
So there is so in Iran they're not signatories to the Berne Convention about international copyright, and so there's an Iranian journalist that I know here who I met when I last went to Iran in 2018 when I was doing a story about women being banned from football stadiums, and he told me, do you know what, I saw your book on the street translated into Farsi, and I was like, what? Didn't know anything about it. It was like one of the big commentators translated it and then added 200 pages of himself to it, and it's out there, and he brought it to me, and it's this massive brick of my book but in Farsi. Highly illegal. I think even if I tweeted approvingly of it, I think I might be breaking the law. Like my agent warned me about that. Don't give them any encouragement. Like, it's fine. Because your publisher could get upset about it. So I deeply disapprove of it. Love it.
Just quickly, can I undress you partly here?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
okay.
Yeah. Well, I want to see this and tell us the story of this.
So we're making a TV series at the moment on 1312, and we had to interview some Lazio ultras, and to get the guy who does the choreography also has a tattoo parlour, so he tattooed this. It's my one and only tattoo at the age of 43 years old.
Do you want to explain the
book is called 1312, and so they've put a few numbers to give plausible deniability if they ever get arrested.
Yes.
But the title of the book means it's ACAB, so all cops are bastards. I'm not anti-cop, just it's a kind of credo of all ultra movements around the world. They're all really anti-police. So I would see this.
You don't need to put your shirt back on. You can keep it. Hang on a second.
But this is something you see in every football stadium around the world. So whether it was in Bosnia, Serbia, where I was living at the time, Helsinki, Indonesia. Anyway, so 1312. It's like it was the one common thread I could kind of like this anti-authority, anti-police thing. So I called it that, and then whilst we were filming it, to kind of. This guy said, well, it was kind of like, show us, like, if you got the balls to it. And I was like, it wasn't that I had balls, it's just that I'm a cheap bastard. It was free. And I thought, yeah, all right, I'll have that.
So that means later on, if we offer you a free tattoo with...
free face tattoo, I'll take it. Like
right.
the Asian, put it on there.
Teardrops coming down. All right, let's talk about Qatar and this World Cup. Like I said, you're uniquely placed to talk about it because you've seen the growth and the evolution of the country and the football scene as well. Unfortunately for the national team, they crashed out in pretty spectacular fashion. On the football side of things, was it a surprise, given that this has been a 12-year project to get the team successful? It didn't work, and then in terms of the off the pitch stuff, what have you made of it?
I think it was both, because when I was doing interviews in the run-up to the World Cup, one of the things was, remember 2019, remember the Asian Cup, Qatar looked fantastic. Yeah. It looked like this Aspire project, which has been, almost more than a decade in the making, bringing these kids from 5-6 years old through every age level, getting them to the peak of 2022, when they're just all at the right age, from 24 to 26, with a few older, more experienced heads. This would be, it was working. Yeah. And then the pandemic hit. And then I remember going and seeing Qatar play. They couldn't play any away games because of COVID protocols. The only place they could play was in Turkey, and it was 2020. End of 2020, and I saw them play Ghana. I think they lost 5-1, and it played like a completely different team. And whatever momentum they had from playing Copa America, they'd already played in the Gold Cup. It was lost, and you could feel that there was something. But they're still the same players, still the same coach. Sure. Felix Sanchez was still there. I mean, Almo Azali was the player that I always highlighted as someone. If you saw how he played at the Asian Cup,
he hardly had a touch.
It really didn't like. I can't remember a chance even had. Yeah. And so it was a surprise to see them perform so poorly. On the other hand, everything about this World Cup has been about everything but the football.
Sure.
And the pressure that those players must be under. Sure. So it's the money, the political. Cultural pressure, the criticism from outside, the fact that this World Cup, if you think about the opening game, you had Mohammed bin Salman in the crowd, you had Abdel Fattah al-Sisi in the crowd, president of Egypt, you had all sorts of Recep Tayyip Erdogan of Turkey, all sorts of diplomacy going on. This was such a big event, and this is such a big event, a country-defining event, really, for Qatar, and all of that weight was on the players' shoulders, and where does all the weight of the player's shoulders goes? Goalkeeper's shoulders, and it's no surprise that goalkeepers dropped after the first game. He had a very shaky game, but yeah, it's been a surprise. But I suppose given the circumstances, probably maybe it wasn't that much of a surprise.
In terms of the off the field stuff, I mean, you've been here, you've seen the stuff, you've reported extensively on a lot of the issues. I think I'm right in saying a lot of it has been filtered through the British press, the American press, and maybe the English-speaking press more so perhaps than other nations. What have you made of, I mean, the issues, why the focus has been so heavy in this instance on Qatar when it perhaps hasn't been in other World Cups and other sporting events, and where do we go? Where does it leave us?
I think there's two issues. One of them is that it's the length of time, partly, right? We've never had a situation before where we had 12-year gap. Having the two World Cups at the same time created all sorts of problems, and this was probably the biggest one, that you had 12 years to prepare, 12 years to build a country, 12 years to build a World Cup, but that's 12 years of criticism. Well, actually, there's three issues. The second issue is that many of the issues that were brought up were absolutely valid and were unique to a bid that would have come from the Gulf. Kafala, this system of economic apartheid that exists here and still exists here even after the reform process has taken place. So the criticism was valid. I mean, a lot of people, human rights organisations, trade unions and journalists, and not just Western journalists as well. We've got to remember there's a lot of journalists in India, in Bangladesh, in Nepal as well, who are ringing the alarm bell, saying like, our people are being sent into this kind of meat grinder, and they're coming back in body bags, and this is on a huge number, and no one's counting the numbers. And I remember meeting one journalist from the main newspaper in Dhaka in Bangladesh, who every Friday would go to the airport to count people coming back, not just from Qatar, from the UAE, from Saudi Arabia. So this is almost for me, it's one of the great economic crimes of the 21st century, deserving of criticism. Absolutely, the World Cup brought shined a spotlight on something that nobody really cared about, and that's a good thing. I can't remember what the third one was, but it was somehow valid. But to me it was the fact it was this length of time, and it was irrelevant. It was a relevant criticism, I think. And also, actually, there's one other thing: is that the reason that Qatar wanted this World Cup, and the reason why it wants everything that it does. I mean, everything in its foreign policy since '71 is about survival. Yeah. Small country in a tough neighbourhood, and it has this history of mediation between big powers. And the World Cup was in the same way that you could look at it getting the Al Udeid air base as a way of securing its kind of military future. The World Cup is about its economic and cultural future. And somewhere like Russia, somewhere like Germany, they don't have to listen to anybody else. They don't listen. Their political culture isn't to. It doesn't have to be. It's about strength, economic strength or military strength. Qatar isn't. And so it has actually listened to the criticism and responded to it, I think, in a way that other World Cup bids probably haven't or wouldn't. And that, I think that in some ways that's a positive thing that it has, because there has been some significant reforms of kafala. They have to be recognised, but it's still kind of really playing around the edges of what is, very economically divided country, where you still have 90% of the country don't have the same rights, or will never have the same rights as the 10% of the people who are citizens.
Thanks so much for your time. We know you've got a flight to catch. We'll let you go.
No, I want to find a pub. I mean, this has been...
Well, there's pubs that can be found.
Yeah.
Yeah, the timing of it is a little bit of an issue.
Let's get amongst them.
All right. Yeah, thanks very much to James, and all of his books are really very highly recommended, guys. We've been joined by another Saudi Arabian fan. This is Mr. Ali, Ali from Dammam.
Yes.
You've got a special handshake, from your city.
Yes.
Yeah, you want to show the handshake?
Yes.
Yeah. I like that.
It was a sad lose.
Yeah.
It's very sad lose. And Mexican, they are good. They are excellent team. Yes.
Yeah, sorry, Ali.
It's a sad lose.
Yeah,
it's very sad.
Are you happy that Australia is going to the next round?
Yes, of course. Australia is our brothers.
Yeah?
Yes.
Very nice, Ali.
Yes.
Thank you.
The mom of the mom.
Oh, sorry, the
Yes,
mum.
yes.
Got it. That's it.
Allah, see you.
Thank you, man. Cheers.
Thanks, Ali.
It's,
The Asian game.
yeah, that's Ali. The Saudi Arabian fans have really been amazing in this one. It's so disappointing, actually. I feel bad for them. But the Mexicans equally look great as well. Again, it was 85,000 people at the stadium, so it's a shame for the tournament to lose two amazing sets of supporters. Paul, just quickly on that Saudi Arabian defeat. I mean, they were never really. In the game, it was kind of a bit even, maybe for the first half an hour or so. But once Mexico started to get on top, and of course they needed to chase goals to get back in, depending on what was happening on the other game as well. So yeah, after such a bright start against Argentina, it's really disappointing to see them exit in this way.
That's a huge shame, because after that Argentinian result, it looked like they'd really set themselves up to get something from that game, unexpectedly get something from that game. It looked like they were all set up to get out of the group. So. But as you said, they weren't really at the races tonight. I think missing key players like Salman Al-Faraj, Yasser Al-Sharani, and a few others along the way as well, it did really hurt them. It felt like they just simply ran out of gas tonight against, as you said, a Mexican side that really had to go out and attack and get goals. And when they got one, then they got a second fantastic free kick, one of the best free kicks probably you'll see this tournament. And then it was contest over at that point. It was.
Come and dance.
It was.
Come and dance. Come and dance. You can dance. Come and dance.
All in.
Dancing time. All right. You have a Saudi dance?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Or a song.
إن شاء الله نحقق أملنا نلعب بفن جمهورا
So like you were saying, they really are amazing, and we've heard a lot of stories about the supposed atmosphere or lack of it at this tournament. I honestly really baffled where these kind of stories are coming from, because the Saudi Arabian fans have been so good, as have a lot of other nations. So I forgot where you're at. But,
that's where I was. But what I do want to say is they've lost the game. They've crashed out of the tournament. Yeah, look, it's a celebration still for them. They're so happy to have represented. They're so happy to have done well.
Yeah,
it's fantastic to see. As you said, it's just a real shame that we lose them from the tournament now.
That's right. Michael, just to wrap up our coverage on the Asian game, of course, brought to you by SMC, as we look ahead to tomorrow's massive clash for Japan, where they need a win against Spain to make sure that they get through to the round of 16. A massive challenge for the Japanese as well. How do you think things will play out there?
Look, Japan obviously need to win. They really, not just in terms of needing a result to be able to go through, but they also need to extinguish that performance against Costa Rica from their memories. It was such a bad performance. You've got to hope they come out and they actually try to go on the front foot and take the game to the Spanish a bit. Look, this Japanese squad, many of them have played against many of these Spanish players before. They played against them at the Olympic Games last year. They actually played a friendly match against that Spanish Olympic team as well and beat them in that game. So there's no reason why they should be overawed. There's no reason why they should go into this game feeling inferior. Let's hope they take the game to them and try and get something out of it.
All right, we'll be back tomorrow night to review that massive clash for Japan, and then look ahead to the final Asian team in their final group match, and that is the Korea Republic the day after that. But to take us out tonight, like I said, our experience here on the ground, guys, and I know that you concur, has been that it's been a really amazing World Cup in one centralised location. There's been goodwill, there's been good behaviour, there's been no drunken scenes of supporters crashing into stadiums and all this kind of stuff, violence that we've seen and racism that we've seen in other tournaments in recent times. So yeah, like I said, it really is surprising for me to see some of these stories about the lack of atmosphere. So to take us out tonight, we're going to have a little bit of a look back, a little bit from tonight and the last couple of days again here in Doha, and we will be back tomorrow to do it all again.